it do? Welcome to His and Hers, which around here we like to consider to be the best 60 minutes of your day. Michael Smith is off today, but the gentleman right here, looking first Sunday sharp.
Well, you know.
You almost need no introduction.
You know, ain't no T-shirts on this brother.
For the uninitiated, this is Roland Martin, who has the most thorough Twitter bio in the business, host of TV1's News One Now, senior analyst for the Tom Joyner Morning Show.
That's right.
Author, international speaker. Bruh, can the rest of us get some jobs? Because you got them all.
I'm a black man in America. I got to have more than one job.
Now, since this is your first appearance here on His and Hers, I thought I'd make you feel better about your beloved Houston Rockets.
That's right.
We'll talk about them firing Kevin McHale in a minute, but their season's already in peril. So I thought, it's in peril.
11 games in.
All right, but I thought I would show you some good Houston Rockets from this season.
Right.
That's obviously not the Houston Rockets, but it's cooler.
Yeah, but that dunk is not playing defense. It looks like James Harden.
But it made a shot, which is not what James Harden has been doing this season.
Precisely. Shooting under 38%.
You know what? The way y'all been playing defense, I don't know if y'all can hold them from under 50% of the field.
Yes, and that's why.
All right, we'll get on to the real Rockets news, which we alluded to. Roland, your team fired Coach Kevin McHale after a 4-7 start. 11 games, all right?
Yep.
Just months removed from their trip to the Western Conference Finals. Now, last year's Players MVP, James Harden, he's shooting 37% from the field and 26% from behind the three-point line, while the newly acquired Ty Lawson has the second lowest PER for all starting point guards in the NBA. It's almost as if GM Daryl Morey knew you were going to be on the show today, so he put this first topic completely on a tee. So who is more to blame for the bad start? Is it the now fired Kevin McHale or the players?
Obviously, players play a crucial role in this. They're the ones who are on the court. I thought the Rockets should not have extended Kevin McHale's deal last year.
Really? Why?
Because, again, I felt that when it came to the playoffs, he decreased his rotation. San Antonio Spurs, Golden State, they were expanding theirs, 10, 11 players playing, and I thought it was just simply too predictable. And so when Les Alexander gave him an extension, I said, dude, what are you doing? Make him play the string out. Don't just give it a contract in the middle, a new deal in the middle of the season. Force him to see how it goes to the end of the year. And even though we got to the Western Conference Finals, still a fluke.
A fluke?
That was a fluke because the Clippers, frankly, went into a coma. They went into a coma. And so, again, I think McHale, great guy, one of the greatest players. I just felt he was not pushing this team hard enough. B.J. Bickerstaff, great choice to be the interim head coach.
See, here's my problem. This is a familiar NBA story. It's amazing how 1 minute you're the players coach and the one that can relate to all the guys, and then the next minute, all of a sudden, your message isn't getting through. I have to put this on the players because, quite honestly, if you're James Harden, who considers himself the, quote, real MVP, if you're the real MVP, you have to show it, not just with how you play on the floor, but with your leadership. Where is the leadership on this team? Look, a team that got to the Western Conference Finals, the coach shouldn't have to instill in you to play hard. For real. Like, when you look at their defensive efficiency, 29th in the NBA, opponent field goal percentage, 27th? I mean, does this team really need that lesson?
First and foremost, I agree you have to have leaders. He is not a natural leader on the floor in terms of a rah-rah kind of guy saying with Dwight Howard. Really, Jason Terry is that particular person. But it is the job of the head coach to figure out, how do I get to my key player to play appropriately? You look at a Phil Jackson. You look at even a head coach in San Antonio. When you look at some of the other strong coaches, they know how to go to their players and say, I need to get something out of you. Clearly, he could not do this with McHale. And when you look at bench production, horrible. Just flat out horrible. And so, look, if your job, and I know Magic Johnson's going to tweet out saying it was a bad idea for the Rockets to get rid of Kevin McHale, but the job of a head coach is to get the best out of all of your players. That's your job. He wasn't doing it.
Well, didn't you think, at the very least, considering where they got to last season, and even though I know you had your issues with how he coached in the postseason, that he at least deserved a little bit more time to see if he can turn this thing around? Because, you know, shots, you go through periods, every team, every player goes through periods where the offense isn't falling or everything isn't clicking.
Right.
It just would seem to me he needs a little bit more time. What was funny to me is that the players, they have a players-only meeting yesterday morning. You know what that meeting was about? Getting rid of Kevin McHale.
But here's the deal. When you open the season with 3 20-point losses, bruh, This is not preseason.
Right.
And so clearly, as a head coach, he did not have his team ready to play the beginning of the season. And look, the toughest conference is the Western Conference. This ain't the Eastern Conference where at 4-7, you in third place.
Even though right now the East is kind of outplaying the West, but nevertheless, I'm
barely, barely.
All right, well, we'll see how this all boils out. It'll be interesting to see how Bickerstaff does. Moving on to a good NBA team. So people keep doubting if the Warriors can top the 95-96 Bulls record of 72 wins. And the Warriors, they just keep on winning. They are now 12-0 after last night's win over the Raptors. Speaking of the Bulls, the Warriors are the first defending champs to start 12-0 since the 96-97 Bulls. And oh, by the way, Roland, they are 3 wins away from equaling your Houston Rockets.
I'm very well aware.
Consecutive wins to begin the season. I'm kind of running out of creative ways to talk about or explain how good the Warriors are. But seriously, like, when is this team going to lose? Like,
well,
when?
here's what's great. This is a team that did not get drunk on winning a championship.
Oh, no, not when people openly questioning whether or not they should have been the champs in the first place.
But I loved how they responded. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry y'all thought we should have just laid down. Okay, here's our ring. And that's what I love about it. And so they have the right attitude. And again, what I appreciate is that this is a deep team. Mm-hmm. This is a team that if you pull off 2 or 3 of their best players in their starting rotation, they get replaced, not much drop-off. That's an excellent team. This team is built very much like a Greg Popovich San Antonio Spurs team. That's what I love about the Golden State Warriors.
And on top of being one of the most exciting to watch in professional sports, and perhaps have the most exciting player in all of sports.
Energy.
Look, did a little numbers crunching here, or not myself, but looking at the BPI, and you look at their schedule, okay, the next game they have against the Clippers, and we know there's beef between these two teams.
Just a little bit
because of what Doc Rivers says. But if you look at this, if you look at the BPI odds to win, the Clippers, which they still give a 56% chance of winning. After that, the next lowest chance is like 63%. So it's just amazing because they're pretty much strong favorites from here on out. And if you even go further in the schedule, and everybody's kind of counting down to the Christmas Day matchup with the Cavs, they have a 1.2% chance to enter that Cavs game undefeated. Now, I know to a lot of people listening, like, oh, only 1.2%. Mm-hmm. The fact that there is a chance that they could be undefeated facing the Cavs, that says everything about the kind of season they're having.
And the fact that they are playing in the West, which reality is still is the stronger conference out of the two in the NBA. Again, what you have here is you have players who understand their roles, and that's what's important. If you look at those Bulls championship season, you look at the 2 titles the Rockets won, the Pistons won, you get players who say, I know my role, I don't have to be the star, let me rebound, let me play defense, let me do hustle plays. That's how you win championships, Houston Rockets. Well, know your role.
Well, you know what else they do that the Rockets didn't do is that you didn't have to tell Golden State to be hungry. Because think about it, what we forget is that they're playing without their coach. They're playing without Steve Kerr. They have an interim coach and although an assistant in Luke Walton. And that, to me, says everything about their professionalism as a group. Again, probably a blessing in disguise was the fact that, you know, you got your boy James Harden saying that he should have been the MVP. You have Doc Rivers saying, oh, they got a little bit lucky, even though I don't think he meant it as quite the slight as they took it. But the fact that there's this narrative out there that this team was somehow fortunate and that because Cleveland was hurt, that's the only reason they won. They've taken that and put it as a huge boulder. It's not a chip, it's a boulder on their shoulder.
This is very simple. This is a team that said this is the only thing that matters. A ring. That's all that matters. And so that's what's great, having the right attitude, but again, also having the right ownership, having the right management who understands this is our standard, our expectation across the board. You would expect a team to say, you know what, we can go ahead and take it easy.
Right.
All right, we can take a night off. No, they're saying we're not taking any nights off. We want to pound folks into submission. I love that kind of attitude.
Me too. And what's interesting, too, you talked about management and how the team is built. Memo to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Mark Lamont Hills, your Sixers suck.
You can actually build through the draft and build a championship team.
Yeah, but not keep building and go 0-11.
No, not at all. Let's talk about one of your real favorite subjects, the Cowboys.
Oh, I hate them more than I hate the Klan.
Romo back. Or that's what most folks believe, especially since the Cowboys waived Brandon Wheaton yesterday, paving the way for Romo's return this weekend against Miami. Now, yesterday, Romo got Dallas fans hyped for his return when he tweeted a clip from the movie Major League, specifically the scene where Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger, stands up in the clubhouse and says, well, I guess there's only one thing left to do, win the whole bleeping thing. So, I guess that means that Tony Romo, he's going to have to sacrifice a live chicken in order for them to save this season, do you think?
I'm a native of Texas. I don't recall medicinal marijuana being passed. In the state of Texas.
That's cold-blooded.
Tony Romo has to be high as all get out. And look, let's be real clear, okay? I pray for the Cowboys to go 0-16 every year.
Okay.
I came out the womb hating the Cowboys, born and raised in Houston, so I really don't care about anything they do. But, no, he's really high. First and foremost, he should be cussing out Jerry Jones with the bad hips because they should not have let DeMarco Murray leave. I don't care if you think your line is that great. You don't let that kind of guy go.
And that came an issue of money to some degree. They wanted him to stay, but they just wanted him to stay at their price.
Yeah, and guess what? What's their price? 2 wins.
But you can argue.
How much of those 2 wins?
It didn't turn out that great for DeMarco either. Now, the wallet is fatter, but the stats looking real slender.
Yeah, precisely. but again, though, why would you break up a team when you get a great combination going? That's when you outsmart yourself. And look, I'll use my Houston Texans. Ain't like we got a quarterback, okay? I don't know what we have. But we got 4 wins. The bottom line is, which is twice as many as the Cowboys.
Right for this.
Twice as many as the Cowboys. But the point here is,
still win the division,
you can still win in the NFL with a strong defense, an okay quarterback, strong running game.
Sure.
What do they have? You don't have a strong quarterback. Didn't have a strong wide receiver core. Running game just left the building.
Right.
Your defense is okay. You need a strong running game. And so Jerry Jones outsmarted himself, and that's why they're sitting on 2 wins.
Well, you know, you can never predict injuries, and I'm sure you can never predict the fact that both him and Dez Bryant, Tony Romo and Dez Bryant, would miss significant time. But you are right in the sense that if they did have DeMarco Murray, considering how they struggled to score points and struggled to run the ball, that maybe that might have been a bit of a stopgap.
Control the clock, strong offensive line.
Right, make it help your defense out.
Let your defense play well. And again, that's how you're able to get through. That's how Baltimore won a title. That's how Tampa Bay won a title. Okay quarterback, strong defenses. So, mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be Cowboys.
I will say this, though, and you should understand this as a Texas fan, being that the fact that you could still win the division.
Yes.
You know what helps a 2-7 team? A bad division. That's what helps them. And right now in the NFC East, it seems like the conference, nobody wants to win.
I call the NFC least.
Yes, that's what most people call it. So I will say this, and granted, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I am a fan of myself, and I'm a fan of being right. I did pick the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. So therefore, I don't care if Romo has to sacrifice a live chicken. If he has to sacrifice a live chicken, or like Joe Boo, we got to get him some KFC. Whatever it takes, I think him coming back, when you look at how they've lost some of these games, because they've been in a lot of them, him coming back is going to be huge, a huge emotional lift for the team. I expect the Cowboys to turn it around.
Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen.
We'll stay with some more.
Keep praying.
We'll stay with the Dallas drama. Remember a few weeks ago how Jerry Jones and son Stephen Jones both spoke openly about their desire to give Greg Hardy a contract extension? Well, in the wake of Deadspin posting the photos of injuries to his former girlfriend, or rather injuries she allegedly suffered at the hands of Hardy, Jerry Jones seems to be backpedaling off that extension.
Greg knows what's expected, and nobody is more aware than the scrutiny, and nobody's more aware of now, even more so, what we expect of him. The good news is we go forward. We see if we get what's expected of him, which I fully anticipate you would get, but we see how and what's expected of him, and we go from there. We don't, as a practice, discuss the detail of extending or not extending. I'll give an indication, but that's about it. And so we'll leave it for that. I have no reason to think that Greg won't do what's expected of him throughout the year.
Yeah, that's interesting because Stephen Jones and both of them had no problem discussing it in recent weeks before those photos. And great backpedal. Like Deion Sanders would be proud of that backpedal. I didn't think it was possible because you know how stubborn Jerry Jones can be. But it does kind of sound like that he's changing his mind a little bit about giving Greg Hardy an extension, given all the clear negative and deserved response to having him there.
I do not believe it's solely because of the photos. I believe it's because how Greg Hardy has acted. Talk about being an absolute idiot, okay? You got a shot to come back and play. You understand the climate of the NFL. Ray Rice still can't get a job. Your job was to come in, shut up, play ball, give all the right responses. But when you act like a fool and change your Twitter feed and talk about how you were innocent until proven guilty, and then you try to bring up discrimination, no, you're stupid. The sideline antic, no. You are supposed to be the most quiet, the quietest player on this team, where let your play on the field speak. If you get any questions off the field, you simply defer. He didn't do it. Greg Hardy's actions likely will cost himself millions of dollars, and teams will be afraid to pick him up because of how he's behaved.
You know, Roland, that's actually a really fair point, because the truth of the matter is, if the Cowboys, I mean, the photos, everybody knew from reading the police report what happened,
right,
absent of the photos, right? And so if the Cowboys really were as committed to speaking out against domestic violence as they say, they wouldn't have signed them to begin with. They knew what was there, and they knew what the situation was. But you're right. I'm sure they probably didn't expect, and I don't know why, given how his behavior has been in the past, they didn't expect for him to come there. You know, you're slapping the clipboard out of the special teams coach hands.
Talking about Tom Brady's wife.
Talking about Tom Brady's wife. The fact that it was the report recently about how he showed up, or barely showed up, for a meeting last week. So you combine all that together, and you have to ask yourself, like, was this worth the headache? Because the fact is, you're winless with him.
Right.
I mean, he's not changing your life defensively. So now you're taking all this negative publicity. The organization is being criticized from, you know, one side of the country to the other. And I'm sure at this point, Jerry Jones, you talk about him oversmarting himself or overthinking things. This is a situation where he did. He was thinking defensive player, offensive league, can get him on the cheap, can keep him on a tight leash, and it hasn't worked out. So.
It hasn't worked out. And Greg Hardy, I'm sure his agent is saying, please, shut up. Just
right.
Don't say a word. And Hardy is making it difficult on Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, because his antics is bringing more attention. And the more attention he brings, the more they're going to bring up his past issues. No, you want to be quiet. You just want to shut up and play. He hasn't done it. And so I would not be shocked if Dallas says, I'm sorry, you ain't worth the headache.
Yeah, what does that say about the NFL, for that matter, the Cowboys, is that being late to a meeting, blowing up on the sideline could cost you your job, but not hitting a woman. And I'll just leave it at that.
That says a whole lot about the National Print Money League.
Yes, definitely. Coming up, you know, I never thought I would say this, but I'm going to pose this question anyway. Did John Elway actually fail Peyton Manning?
Really?
Yeah, it's a theory being floated out there in Denver. But first, here's the DTM honorable mention. Check out my man, Jarvis Landry. I mean, he's channeling his inner Ralph Macchio. Like, look, I know you sometimes get bored.
I thought like a FAMU drum major.
Exactly.